part of the process that that you went through, and education has a lot of merit and a lot of value. And to my son, who is a junior mechanical engineering student, keep studying hard. But the truth is that you had an interesting perspective in our pre-interview about what MBA programs in marketing get and don't get. And as you're kind of talking about the experience of people coming together trying to solve issues, tell me how that is different than what's presented in the classroom environment. Because I don't have an MBA. I did take graduate courses. I don't have an MBA, but I found the graduate courses I took to be disconnected from reality. Let's put it that way. What's your experience there?
Did you ever see the Rodney Dangerfield movie Back to School?
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes ever in that is when the guy is giving the lecture about how you're going to get, your building thing approved. And he just starts laughing. He goes, that's not the way it works. First thing you got to do is bribe this guy to get past this regulation. And then you got to talk to that guy. And then you got to know a guy down in the thing. And that's really what I think about the way that most, and I'm limiting this just to marketing, but MBA programs don't teach marketing well. They just don't. And I blame that on Harvard because I don't think Harvard teaches it well. And as Harvard goes, so do the MBA programs around the country. But what happens is they're all internal focused. It's SWOT analysis, it's case study, it's show me about how operational efficiency can happen and show me how we can, cost cut or how we can manage this or that or the other. Oh yeah, and by the way, somebody has to buy it from us. And so I see the same things over and over and over again for groups that have dumped all of their investment, not necessarily money, but certainly a large part of that, all of their investment into product, sales, distribution, manufacturing. And all of that is great, but you still have to have somebody that's interested to buy it. And then they go out and they tell these horrendous stories that bore people to no end, and then people don't engage with it the way that they want, and they wind up leaning on sales to get there. I just don't see that most programs teach well what it is that you need in order to be a marketing success that way. And as I stand on the front line of it every day, my point of view is after 31 years, pretty rock solid in terms of what I've actually seen. So Sal, to answer your question specifically, I do think it becomes theoretical the more you go down the line. And I think the further you get away from actually getting out and having the experience one-on-one, the less impactful that theoretical knowledge is, because you can't apply it appropriately. Like, you get the gist, but you haven't earned the scars. So you're not like, well, no, in this situation, that won't work because X, and it's not grounded in anything.
I can relate to that. I just want to say, I took my graduate work at Harvard Business School, and I did learn some interesting things. But my biggest takeaway from 3 certificate programs I attended was that it didn't have that many real world applications. That was my biggest takeaway. I met wonderful, very talented people. I read some really interesting case studies, and I didn't find it very easy to apply that at all. So I agree. It's just wanted to make the point, kind of reinforce the point that there's nothing wrong with graduate work. There's nothing wrong with MBA programs. But it is not a panacea. You're not going to learn everything you need to know.
Yeah.
And I graduated with a degree in advertising, and I was like, I'm not going for an MBA. There ain't no way. Right. And so, but I wondered, like, you guys are mentioning Harvard. Yes, it's not teaching a real world relevance, so to speak, not fully, but obviously there's got to be connections that got to be accrued through that program that are beneficial, I'm assuming.
You're talking about personal connections, networking?
Correct.
Oh, yeah, of course. If I went to Harvard, and the people that I know would be an instant credit into any room or establishment, and certainly the connections in business would be phenomenal. But, give me somebody who gets it, wants it, loves it, and dropped out of high school because they couldn't wait to get started on it, and will eat their lunch every day of the week, because their passion for it isn't grounded in theoretical accuracy or being right. It's grounded in an inability not to do something that they just love with all their heart and soul. And that's that grit and determination and unwillingness to not do it right is something that is wholly missing when you're trying to look for what was right before as the answer to what is right now. And I think that's the sliver of difference between those two things.